Hello and welcome to Bake This. I'm Michael Frushour, and on today's episode we're going to be making peppermint bark. It's fun for the holidays, great for kids, and easy to make. So what you'll need for this peppermint bark is crushed candy canes. I have about 12 to yield about a cup, 2 pounds white chocolate, and half a teaspoon of peppermint flavoring. The way we're going to cook our peppermint bark is on a double boiler. What a double boiler is, it's a pot with hot boiling water inside and a glass bowl on top. This way the chocolate will melt nice and easily and not burn. We also have a baking sheet which will spread our final peppermint bark on with parchment paper or wax paper on it. Okay, so I think we're about ready to start. What we're going to do is I have our candy canes into a Ziploc baggie so that we can take our tenderizer here and break them into little chunks. So that's what I'm going to do right now. All right, we don't want it to be powdery, but we don't want the chunks to be so big. So got a few here that are still too big. Okay, so now we have our peppermint into little chunks. They look good, easy to bite into and shouldn't be a problem. Okay, next we have our 2 pounds of white chocolate. We're just gonna pour this into our double boiler here. All right. Take your utensil that you're going to stir with. All right. And we're just going to stir our chocolate until it's nice and smooth. All right. So here you can see it's coming out nice and smooth. What we're trying to look for is not lumps or any bubbles coming up in our chocolate. We want it to be really smooth for our combining of the candy canes. Okay, it's coming out pretty good. Just about done here, so of melting the chocolate. All right, I want to say that our chocolate is nice and melted, very smooth. So when we come back, we're going to fold in our crushed candy canes into our chocolate, and then we're going to put it onto our baking sheet and put it in the refrigerator to cool. So stay tuned on Bake This. Hello and welcome back to Bake This. I'm Michael Frushour, and before the break we were melting our chocolate on our double boiler. Now what we're going to do is we're going to combine our peppermint candy canes and our peppermint flavoring to our peppermint bark. So let's take our peppermint flavoring first. This was a half a teaspoon of peppermint flavoring. Let's pour that in here. All right. Next, we're going to take our peppermint candy canes. We're just gonna, I'll pour in about half. All right. Let's fold this in first, and then we'll pour in the other half. So what folding is you're just basically taking from the outside and folding it inward. Okay, we're just simply folding in the peppermint flavoring and our peppermint candy canes into our melted white chocolates. Okay, that looks good. So now let's take the rest of our peppermint candy canes. I'm actually still not going to put in the rest of it because we'll add to it later on top on our cookie sheet or baking sheet. All right. Okay, so that looks folded enough. All right, I'm gonna set this aside here. All right. Let's take our baking sheet with parchment paper on it. All right, and what I'm gonna do is take our melted chocolate with our candy canes in it. We're just gonna pour this onto our baking sheet here. Like I said, this is just parchment paper or wax paper that's on our baking sheet, just so that it doesn't stick. We don't want to use non-stick cooking spray on this because we aren't baking it, we're just refrigerating it so it can harden, but the chocolate shouldn't stick to the paper. It should just easily be able to come right off and we can break it. Okay. Try and get as much of the chocolate out of the bowl onto our baking sheet here. Okay. All right. And now we're gonna spread it. Want to spread it really thin. Now this part's up to you on how thick you want your peppermint bark. I don't like my peppermint bark too thick. Thin is the way I like it, so just gonna spread it out pretty thin here. You want to make sure that it's there's not gaps, or else it won't be able to break evenly. Okay. Make sure that it's spread completely evenly and not too thick on one side. All right, that looks good. Okay, so remember I told you to save some of the peppermint candy cane, which I have here. The reason for that is because then you can add that right on top. Okay, put it in spots here. Okay, that looks really good. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this into the refrigerator, let it cool for 45 minutes, and when we come back, I'll take it out and we'll break it into little pieces. So stay tuned on Bake This. Hello and welcome back to Bake This. I'm Michael Frushour, and before the break we placed our peppermint bark into the refrigerator and let it cool for 45 minutes so that it's nice and hardened. What we're going to do now is we're going to break it into little pieces, like as if it were to be peanut brittle. Alright, you can break it however big you want. Like this would probably be a good size. Okay, keep breaking it here. This is the fun part for kids, is because they can break it into any real size they want. Like I said, it doesn't have to be too big or too small, just whatever size you want. Okay. I wouldn't really make it extremely small or too big, but I think this is about a perfect size that I'm doing it. Okay. About 45 minutes is always about a good time to keep it cooling in the refrigerator, because we want to make sure that it's nice and hard. If it's too soft, then I'd wait a little longer to make sure that it's nice and hard, or else it won't break easily. Okay. A few more pieces here. All right. That looks good. Peppermint bark. All right, let me try a piece here. It's really good. I love how the peppermint is very balanced. It's not too strong. worked out perfectly. Well, thank you for watching Bake This. I'm Michael Frushour, and I hope to see you next time.